Greetings everyone, Remy's Reviews here, and I know, it's been a while, but I promised to myself that I'll return to make some year-end lists, so here we are. Today we're going to be looking at the best 20 albums slash EPs of 2023. Keep in mind, this is all just my personal opinion. I'm also going to be doing a list on worst albums of the year, as well as best songs, so subscribe to not miss those either. If you want to see my specific ratings on these albums and keep up with my newest reviews, follow me on Album of the Year, link is in bio. Okay, now let's get into the best albums and EPs of 2023. But before going through the top 20, let's run through some quick honorable mentions that were so close to making the list that I have to give them a shout out. The new Signs of the Swarm album, Amongst the Low and Empty, is a great modern deathcore album with a bunch of bangers. This Is Why by Paramore is my favorite album from them in a long time and in their post-emo sound. The new live Black Country New Road album was really good. I quite enjoyed the new nostalgia trip back to the 2000s alt-metal era. The Above by Code Orange. The surprisingly great return of Stained, of all bands, Confessions of the Fallen, delivering their very best record to date. And the same could be said for the new Sevendust record. I know. Both of those really surprised me. And I would also like to shout out the new Spiritbox EP, The Fear of Fear, as well as Laugh Track by The National, which was a big surprise considering the record that came before it. And my last honorable mention will be the Queens of the Stone Age record, In Times New Roman. Okay, let's get into the actual list now. At number 20, we have Zig by Poppy. Despite the hate that this album got upon release, and as much as I love the metal Poppy the most on I Disagree, Zig delivers a pretty great collection of alternative pop and electro-industrial tracks here, ranging from super fun to very emotional. Thought this one was really good. At number 19, we have After the Magic by Parannoul, which is nothing short of a stunningly beautiful project, merging the sounds of indie rock, shoegaze, emo, and dream pop in the most tasteful and orgasmic way possible. The title track has to be my favorite Parannoul track to date. I really love this thing. Following at number 18, we have the very underrated Less by Deathcrash. This is actually one of the few slowcore projects that's dropped this year, and it's definitely the best one. Combined with minor influences of emo, Less delivers a set of minimalistic yet very gorgeous tracks, Pirouette being my favorite. Placing at number 17 is a very short EP, but I wanted to include it anyway, and that's Blackbox Life Recorder 1F by Aphex Twin, which is just a great 4-track comeback from Richard, delivering some very high quality IDM and breakbeat, and I'm honestly just really happy to get anything from him at this point, since he is my favorite solo artist alongside C418, and he really delivered with this short yet sweet comeback EP. Placing at number 16 is Lotus Light by Tim Hecker with No Highs, making his best album to date, crafting a cold, nocturnal, and beautifully atmospheric ambient soundscape, perfect for the winter time. This album feels lush, fully realized, and classy, with its transcendental feeling being its main selling point. Great record. At number 15, I have an artist that I never expected to make it into a list like this, yet they completely blew my expectations out of the water, and that would be the new King Krule record, Space Heavy. And as the title suggests, this album delivers a beautiful spacey feeling, taking you on another planet, pulling from various influences, the main one I recognize being Duster out of all bands, and I absolutely love the orgasmic slowcore undertone they added to this record, especially on songs like Flimsier, which is one of my favorite songs of the year. This trumps the Oz in literally every way possible, and it's not even close. Next, we have one of the most iconic electronic producers, Oneohtrix Point Never, return with a brand new record, and while it's no Garden of the Leet, again it still delivers a very compelling experience with some great standouts. This album is very experimental and also quite different from Daniel's previous work, but it's still a considerably strong record solidified by amazing tracks like Ubiquity Road and Crumville. At number 13, we have hands down the most polarizing record of the year, that being of course Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. Yes, one of the most promising metal acts dropped a huge album this year, and while it definitely doesn't come close to Sundowning for me, it's still a really good record. I remember the hype around this album was insane when Chokehold and The Summoning dropped at the start of the year. It was a huge rollout, and obviously it was very polarized due to the bombs that Fantano and Brad dropped on the album. But Take Me Back to Eden is their most genre-bending album yet, mending together the likes of alt metal, art pop, djent, and elements of R&B too. While I'm not a big fan of the R&B sections at all, the metal sections are still absolutely amazing on here. The songs feel huge and ambitious, with some gorgeous ballads like Ascensionism and huge bangers like Vor. This album delivers the whole package, basically. I have a few minor gripes with it, especially when it comes to the modern R&B elements, but either way, it's still a really great album. Next up, we have the amazing Margaret with Romantic Piano, delivering her best offering yet. It's honestly kind of shocking how much of an improvement this record is over her previous work. It feels like she has truly found her best sound on this album. The soft and soothing pianos create a beautiful vibe on here, which results in one of the best ambient records of the year, and some absolutely gorgeous songs such as Cicadas, which is easily like one of the most beautiful songs I've heard. Not even this year, but like in the past couple of years. It's such a gorgeous track. So yeah, love this record. At number 11, we have the brand new Liturgy 93696, or 93,696, which is yet another great offering by this band, delivering some of the most creative and unique modern black metal out there, incorporating elements of Avant-Garde, choral, glitch, and progressive metal. This album never runs out of great ideas, and it is packed with fresh and unique cuts that still manage to go hard at the same time, like the title track or the absolutely ruthless Ananon, with some really soft interludes, with some totalism vibes. The album really has a lot of variety and brings a full package of a record rather than just a collection of tracks. Halligan 2 also has to be one of the best tracks of the year, although I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. Next, we have a band that dropped by far their best album and magnum opus, that being Periphery, with Periphery 5, Djent is not a genre. This album is their best offering, and it's not even close, to be honest. The amazing heavy riffs, experimental sections, including jazz on the first track, and the very progressive rhythms make this into an awesome album experience. Spencer shines vocally on here so much. He can sound like a monster on songs like Wildfire, and a full-blown pop star on tracks like Wax Wings or the very underrated and beautiful Silhouette. He really showed he is one of the most incredible and exciting vocalists in the metal scene on this record, and I really didn't get that from their previous work. So he really proved himself with this one. Fantastic record, and by far the most underappreciated album of the year. At number 9, we have Stereo Mind Game by Daughter. The English indie folk trio delivers one of the most emotionally striking records of the year. It feels extremely ethereal and melancholic, and the existential bittersweet feeling adds to the emotion even more. The slow and nocturnal guitars and sentimental vocals create a really beautiful and nostalgic feeling. Songs like To Rage and Be On Your Way are absolutely stunning. Overall, one of their best works and also one of my favorite records of the year. Next on the list is an EP, but it's definitely worth including, and that is Knockarea by Maruja, which is a short yet absolutely amazing post-rock record that incorporates elements of jazz, art punk, and even post-hardcore. The EP is orgasmic, yet has a lot of energy at the same time. A lot of energy. Songs like Thunder are some of the most memorable art rock cuts I've heard in a long time. So I love this one. At number 7, we have yet again a very strange appearance on the list, but that's Andre 3000 with his record New Blue Sun, which is one of the most drastic and unexpected genre switches an artist had done, going from making rap music that I personally wasn't a fan of at all, to making one of the best albums of the year, which is a new age, ambient, spiritual jazz record. A well-acclaimed rapper that I never understood makes a switch to my favorite genre of all time, and also also does an absolutely amazing job on it. I mean, that was less likely than a meteor falling on my head, but yet it happened. The intro track is one of the most meditative and transportive songs I've heard in a long time, and it's one of the most gorgeous songs of the year. The rest of the record is also really good too, with Andre playing his little flute, incorporating wind instruments and a bunch of other stuff. It's an amazing new age album, and it made me gain so much more respect for Andre 3000 as an artist, and that he's not afraid to transition to other genres and absolutely kill it. So hats off, Andre, this one's amazing. Next up at number 6, I have ATTA by Sigur. The post-rock legend Sigur make a comeback after a 10-year hiatus with a modern classical piece over here, and it's absolutely incredible. Modern classical is one of my favorite genres of all time. Artists like Max Richter and Nils Fromm will always be near and dear close to my heart, and some of the greatest musicians of the modern world has to see. And I'm glad that Sigur went in this direction while also incorporating elements of ambient and chamber music. ATTA is a very ethereal and emotional record, having some of the most warm and mellow production that I've heard in a while. And overall, the album just sounds absolutely stunning, and songs like 8 or Blueberg blew my mind with those melancholic strings. It's just exactly my cup of tea, so yeah, this definitely deserves a mention on this list, 100%. At number 5, we have TesseracT with War of Being, delivering the best progressive metal album of this year with an extremely tight track list, and is packed with amazing riffs, vocals, and production. Pretty much all of these tracks are pure top tier prog metal, and I honestly can't imagine it being any better in 2023 than this. It's really perfectly delivered. Number 4 might surprise you, but it's one of my all-time favorite alternative metal bands making a comeback, the godfathers of Christian metal music, Red, with their record Rated R. And I wasn't sure how to feel about this one at first. It was extremely different for them, and I think it took me a while to get kind of into it, but I now definitely really appreciate them taking a risk and switching up their sound instead of just staying stagnant. With new metal bangers like Surrogates and The Suffering to their classic melodic alt metal of Cold World and Emergency, Red delivers an energetic punch. Now, as much as my favorite Red will always be the melodic and ballady tracks like Let It Burn or The Moment We Come Alive, I also love the heavier stuff, and just like Declaration, that's exactly what Red do on this record. This album is dark, anxious, and heavy, delivering a constant crop of songs. And despite a few eyebrow raisers and the unfortunate lack of ballads, the album still manages to completely carry alternative metal this year, delivering the genre's best record from one of the genre's best bands. Some Red fans might not like this very much, and I understand why, but I don't know, I really like it. Also, Emergency is one of their best songs in quite a while, so that's all I'm gonna say. And at number 3, I have Symptoms of Survival by Dying Wish, one of my most unexpected entries on this list, mostly due to the fact that I haven't checked out much Dying Wish before this. But then the promising single started to come out, and on the day of release, I just decided to put it in the gym, and I'm glad I did, because this thing is absolutely amazing. This album single-handedly revived melodic metalcore for me, which has been kinda dead these past couple of years, combining it with elements of beatdown hardcore on tracks like Pray For Me, and classic metalcore as well. The album is deathly consistent, with barely any duds. Emma delivers some absolutely stunning cleans and vicious screams, while the guitars rip your head off with some very heavy riffs. But don't get it confused, this album has a ton of variety on it. There are a lot of slower and more melodic cuts like Paved in Sorrow, which work just as incredibly as the heavy cuts. Almost every song in here is fantastic, and it's definitely one of the best metalcore albums in the past few years. The runner-up for my best album of 2023, at number 2, we have Everything Is Alive by Slowdive. The legendary shoegaze act come back after 5 years to deliver what is probably their best projects to date, if I'm being completely honest. I always loved Slowdive and shoegaze in general, but god, this new record has some of the best material in the genre of the past few years, and Slowdive's best material as well. The crazy thing is, I wasn't crazy about the singles when they came out, but once the whole album did, I had an absolutely life-changing experience listening to it on a train ride in the early morning, looking out of the window as the nature passed by while Prayer Remembered was playing in my ears. I mean, it almost made me shed a tear. year. The guitar melodies they pull off on this record are some of the most gorgeous and stunning melodies I've ever heard, even if they're simple. Prayer Remembered would be an amazing example. I mean, the song is an instrumental, yet it evokes so much emotion in me solely from the guitars. It's honestly my favorite track here and one of my favorite tracks of the year. The same could be said for Kisses, Shanty, Alive, and pretty much every single song. There's not a single miss on here, every single track is just an ultimate vibe. Everything is Alive delivers some of the most beautiful and well-made shoegaze and dream pop of the past decade, and I don't think there's much else to be said. What a stunning record, it takes me to such a tranquil and emotional place, I can't explain it. It does things to me, man. I love it to death. And the best album of 2023, in my opinion, is of course Heavener by Animate. I mean, what can I say? One of my favorite progressive metalcore bands, dropping their second best album after Still World. But even that comes extremely close because Heavener is pretty much perfect. The best of riffs, amazing and beautiful clean vocals, vicious and sharp screams, incredible drumming, fantastic ambient atmosphere, and sticky emotional songwriting. What more can I say about this album? I mean, it's just absolutely incredible and has been on repeat for me almost every single day after it came out. Anything from the mind-blowingly catchy Shade Astray to my favorite song of the year with one of the greatest and most suspenseful metalcore breakdowns, Labyrinthine, as well as the completely gorgeous and atmospheric Without a Whisper, the stunning ambient Revere, and of course, how could I forget Purity Weeps, which has one of my favorite riffs of the year, probably my favorite riff of the year. I mean, that riff is just, it's something else, man. I'm physically addicted to listening to it over and over again. And that's the case with the whole album pretty much. It's just pure metalcore perfection, just how Invent always does it. All of their work is fantastic, and even if they're undergone a lineup change with their original vocalist, Ben English, leaving, which was, by the way, one of the best vocalists in metal, and his departure was extremely sad, yet they've still managed to be almost just as good, pretty much, incorporating more elements of alternative metal into their new stuff, especially in the hooks, and obviously having their classic prog metalcore Djent sound. It's music to my ears, man. Absolutely flawless, and I didn't even think twice about putting this album at number 1 because nothing was simply going to beat it. Alright guys, that was my list of the best and or my favorite albums of 2023. Hope you enjoyed it and feel free to comment your list down below as well. Follow me on Album of the Year, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.